Uh, okay, I think it's recording. Okay, it is recording. Um, okay, good. Um, so home. Also, I wanted to share with you. Yeah, as a reminder, was our discussion about the role of the board of trustee for SEALNet, and there was a conversation about how can we make better use of the talent and skill and wisdom of the board of trustee, and there was a proposal about just renaming it as the elders or the elder council of the elders. And I know you were very supportive, which was very glad. And so we could also talk a little bit about it too
Sure.
nearing the end, because that is also a very important conversation. I imagine that more people will want to be involved, but it's always
Mm,
to good to get it going and just let people talk about it.
sure. Okay.
uh okay. um so I have been talking to a few different people. I talked to Lang, have soon talk to Maylene, Kevin Teo, all the the original, very original co-founder of SEALNet, and I know there are more. And I asked people of a few same questions. And the first one that I would love to hear from you is a moment that you remember about SEALNet beginning. Um, a moment about that, and more specifically would be, what is a piece that you wanted to contribute and have contributed to its creation and its early baby phase.
Mm, an
Mm.
early memory of how process of when SEALNet was found.
Yeah, how it all began.
Mm,
Mm. And your personal piece in it.
sure.
Mm.
I think my personal piece in it was initially really just supporting Lang.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, my Lang, who's my partner and who I see was carrying so much anguish and pain for what was happening in the world at that time. There was, the Bali bombing and his own disconnecting from the work that he was doing.
Mm.
And I know that he was also longing to create experiences
Mm.
uh, that had been meaningful for him when he was
Mm.
growing up
Mm.
with United World College.
Mm. Mm.
And so initially, a feeling that I had was to support Leng to carry through this is a
Mm.
vision that he has.
Mm.
And then I saw how he was reaching out to different Singaporean uh,
Mm. Mm.
friends at the
Ah,
time.
yeah.
And I do remember saying to Leng, because Leng keep, oftentimes when Singaporeans get together, they would
Ah.
be moaning and groaning and complaining about Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah.
I said, Leng, you're banned from complaining about Lee Kuan Yew. Do something.
Ah.
Don't sit there and just complaining or moaning or uh, debating about Lee Kuan Yew, but actually do something about it. And
Yeah.
so for months, I keep seeing him, driving down to Palo Alto
Yeah. Uh-huh.
to meet with these other Singaporeans who talk a mile a minute, and most of the time I don't understand talking about.
You were with him.
Yeah, once in a while I went with him and I just let him be with that group and I just hang out on my own.
Yeah.
Uh, at the time, I didn't know what was happening either.
Yeah.
Then I think by the time Leng had met up with Kevin Teo and
Mm. Mm.
KB and
Mm.
Mei Lin, and
Mm.
they had been in conversation for a few months already.
Mm.
And I do remember the moment when they
Mm.
connected with Stanford,
Mm.
with Kevin Steele and HIP,
Yeah.
and KB and Kevin had suggested that there would be a collaborative effort
Mm.
With Viet and
Mm.
Kevin.
Mm.
And at the time, I think it was not even called SEALNet. It goes
Mhm.
through name changes over
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
But I think for me, the most memorable experience was actually the very first SEALNet
Mm.
retreat
Ah, yes. Please, please.
at Wildwood. And I remember, there's a few, there was not many people.
Oh.
Suki was there.
Mm.
I don't know whether Trent was there or not,
Mm.
but I
Mm.
remember it was one of like the earliest retreat up
Mm.
at Wildwood.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I remember one person, I cannot
Mm.
remember whom,
Mm.
came up in front of in front of the room and
Mm.
expressed something very emotional.
Mm.
And I wish I could remember who it was.
Mm. Mm.
And this person said, this was the first time they met a gay couple, let alone
Wow.
like uh, uh, for Home and Lang to be so openly and
Yeah.
honest and
Yeah.
authentic. It was very moving for them.
Yeah.
And so I remember that experience to be so powerful because at the time, Lang and I were not sure whether uh,
Mm.
how open we were because we were playing in mentorship role and
Uh-huh.
um,
Uh-huh.
we didn't know how these young uh, Southeast Asians would
Mhm.
react to us being openly uh, a couple.
Mm.
And so I just remember feeling so encouraged and respected and
Ah.
seen.
Mm.
And I think that was the moment when I made an internal decision to be uh, the director for leadership development. Because there
Mm.
was no such role at the time, and we
Mhm.
didn't even know how we're going to develop these young university students and what they were going to do.
Mhm. Mm.
What skills do they need?
Mhm.
How do we build relationships
Mm.
with them
Mm.
uh, between the co-leaders and
Mm.
how will the projects be formed?
Mm.
And so I remember it was just like we were just talking about one project. I remember,
Mm.
if I remember correctly, it was going to Vietnam,
Mm.
uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
Vietnam or Cambodia. I cannot remember now.
Yeah.
This
I
is
believe
a
the first was just
sign of
Vietnam. Uh-huh.
aging because I cannot remember.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and I just remember the warm feeling of seeing uh, first time all these Asian Americans coming together, uh,
Ah.
and we're talking about going to Southeast Asia, and at the time it felt so far away, and we didn't know how we're gonna do it and what's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Mm.
yeah, and
Wow.
I think I was the only Vietnamese person in that group among all the Singaporeans at the time, the founders or the original members. I think the student group has Viet, but
Right.
among the, the mentors,
Uh-huh.
mostly all Singaporeans.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was
Wow.
it was good.
Wow. 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 Ah.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds, yeah, distinctly you being, like, I'm imagining you being the only Vietnamese in the room of very, very driven Singaporean.
Yes. Well, KB was there, and KB always had an opinion about something.
Yeah.
And Mei Lin is so like her big vision, and
Yeah. Hmm.
Kevin is like, okay, how we're gonna make this happen, and
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
really amazing, and I think I attributed to Lang's willingness to gather the people,
mm,
and
mm,
KB is all about, like, making it happen, and the
mm,
collaboration between KB and Kevin was so powerful,
mm,
and
mm,
I think with Kevin's background in startup and technology, and
mm,
KB in her business execution, they were like,
mhm.
let's make it happen. And
Yeah,
so as soon as they found Viet and Kevin Seal,
yeah,
uh, it seemed like things start clicking in pretty fast. And
yeah.
out of the retreat,
Mm,
people were so excited.
mm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. Wow. Um, I remember this is something that yeah, Tu were telling me is your presence and contribution to the SEALNet has been this very powerful retreat in let's just use the word magical instead of woo woo. Well, yeah, depend on how people call
Mm,
it. But it has been very clear that the SEALNet retreat has been a powerful experience compared to other leadership development or even other organizations that work with young people.
yes.
And so I wanted to hear your reflection. What was going on in your hope and dreams at that point when you decided to bring all this into developing the young people? What was your intention and how that has been playing out?
Yeah. So in my experience, it happened at multiple levels, at the personal level and then
Mm,
at the organizational level.
mm,
I think at a personal level,
mm,
this feels very intimate for me to share this, but
mhm,
for Lang and I, as a gay couple, we don't have children, right?
mm, mm,
And so some years before that, we made a decision that
mm,
we decided that we're not going to have children of our own,
mm,
but that we would direct a lot of our sort of our
mm,
parental energy or instinct
mm,
towards supporting young people
mm,
who
mm,
leave their biological family, and many of them leave their country and coming to a different place. And
mm,
how do we creating an environment,
mm,
holding container for these young people, but it also allow us to satisfy something very uh, personal to us. It's
mm,
how do we be good parents to young people who
mm,
are on their own out
mm,
in the world,
mm,
right? So I think at that personal level, it feels very empowering
mm,
and purposeful for me, and I also know for Lang.
mm, mm,
Um, I think at the professional level and organizational level, we were just uh, experimenting, right?
mm,
What it would mean to have multiple groups of people from different generations working together.
mm,
Uh, Part of the dream at the time was like, oh, imagine, 20 or 30 years from now, these young
yeah,
people are leaders in Southeast Asia, and that
yeah,
they would have a deep shared experiences with each other, and what would
mm,
the peace and the collaboration and the cooperation that would come for
mm,
Southeast Asia,
mm,
10, 20 years later.
mm,
So that was the big dream, and
mm,
the vision was it was simple at the time, like
mm,
what would be like where professionals, more experienced people
mm,
mentoring younger university students, and then they then mentoring the high school students and
mm,
mentoring
mm,
grade school students.
mhm,
And so
mhm,
I think to me that just it was so simple
mm,
and so complex at the same time, right?
mm, 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 mm,
So to me that seemed such a worthwhile experiment and endeavor.
Mm.
And for me, I think a combination of like driven, hardworking, these are like high achievers, you know, many of them Ivy League students, you know, very smart folks. But how to uh, create an environment for them to begin to talk about what they care about and what's really important, what's in their heart. And I, you know, I think being an openly gay person, I think I also sense that Leng and I give people permission to just be open and be curious, right? Many people, I remember many young people of SEALNet came to me, and you know, in the process of figure out their own, you know, not only their professional life but their intimate relationship lives and conversation about sex and how to go about it, and you know, like people coming out to me, and so to me those experiences are what really feel me. I'm not sure that I answered the question.
I know. So funny, some funny voices. Can you, is the voice good now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Continue then.
Yeah, so I think that's my response to your question.
Yeah, and listening to you, I'm just in awe of how deeply interconnected the work is. Like for me, as someone who knows you for a while now, seeing your work, it just struck me at how it really aligns at all the levels, from the personal level of who you are to the relationship level of you and Lang doing this, and how that bring that ethos and spirit through SEALNet. And yeah, it's amazing to, you know, if you know an organization and you look at this leader and you can tell that's always something so fascinating. And now seeing how it permeates throughout different generation, it's just so endearing. I remember, so this year the project also had a retreat in Myanmar, and the board of director were also calling in from outside to the people inside, and you can still feel the very caring, very intimate kind of bond were being formed with people there.
Yeah. And I think that the whole process and the whole experience is not just about like good feelings, but sometimes also challenging and painful, and you know, in terms of going to these different places and then realizing, wow, you know, I have lived in a bubble for many of these young people. Myself, and I include myself in the experience of SEALNet, is sort of like an awakening to life and suffering and the pain in the world, and how am I connected to all of it, right?
Yeah. I know that now the involvement has gone down a little bit. For the last, you are playing a very important role for the first phase of SEALNet, and now it is becoming, you are less actively involved. And I'm curious about, just from the kind of thing that you hear from people like me of this generation of SEALNet. How do you feel about it? now as an organization has gone to yeah 15 years with
Mm,
plenty of ups and downs.
yeah. I know that's something that was really important for Lang and I know that also
Mm,
uh, for um, Kevin and Teal
mm,
and the other founders
mm,
that we didn't want it SEALNet to just be a sort of like resume building experience thing, right?
mm, mm,
Because sometimes people are like, oh, I want to do something just to
yeah,
beef up my resume for my volunteer
yeah,
work. We wanted to like have it be a heart opening, heartbreaking, mind blowing,
mhm,
heartfelt experience for
mhm,
people.
mhm,
And so
mm,
sometimes there's the challenge of uh, how to hold sort of the safety and yet also challenging people.
mhm, mhm,
And so, um,
mm,
and I think the by the time I start watching people like Trent,
mhm,
right,
mhm,
like 3 years later,
mhm,
Tien and
mhm,
Oh, and now I
mm,
see you,
mm,
and when I see the way you guys carry on and make it even better,
mm.
like I watched like, wow, how do these people know? It took me 20 years to learn how to facilitate like this, right?
Yeah.
It took me such a long time how to coach like this.
Mhm,
And then, I watch people like yourself and other people
yeah.
like, whoa, they're kind of like leapfrog ahead and standing uh, like they know something that just sort of in the field. And so I
Yes.
think I
Mm,
think I would say that the I would say that SEALNet is in some way we create a field,
mm, mm, mm,
right? That people
mm,
can just energetically, experientially,
mm,
emotionally absorb this
mm,
learning. We never say like, oh, you should learn this or
mm,
you should do this, but
mm,
allowing people to be in that place of,
mm,
oh, what would it be like for me to really care about something? What
mhm,
would it be
mhm,
like for me to really commit to learning
mm,
outside of my comfort zone?
mm,
What it's like for me to be in love with people that I work with,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
you
Yeah.
know? And
Yes.
I only articulate this now,
Yeah.
but I think at a subconscious level, that was all the longing, right? How do we
Yeah.
create uh, a, a live bonding experience?
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
And at
mhm.
the same time, I know that there were also people who just come because they think, oh, this is a good resume beefing
Well,
experience.
it's a bridge to American college for the Vietnamese. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, looking back, I'm like, I feel so delighted and
Mm,
proud not in a, what's a different word than proud? I just feel joyful
mm,
and grateful,
mm.
seeing people who I met when they were 16, 17,
Mhm.
now running,
Yeah.
company that's
Yeah.
growing,
Yes.
like,
Yes. Yes.
ooh, or,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
I met Han when she
Uh,
was 17 or 16 and Heal,
yeah.
all are, or, all of these people are like in Harvard Business School and Stanford Business School and,
Yeah. Yeah.
people graduating and,
Mhm,
you know, go, gone on to
mhm,
create really purposeful lives.
mhm, 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 mhm,
And I,
mm,
I do remember Lang said something, to one of the founders of
mm,
SEALNet,
mm, mm,
is that part of the privilege of going to these schools and
mm,
have the opportunity to go abroad to study and
mm,
have the opportunity to do this is, you know,
mm,
really committing to serving.
mhm.
and not just about your own ego.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we continue to raise,
Mm-hmm.
warning flags around that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I at the moment, I don't know where SEALNet is
Mm-hmm.
in terms of its practice and
Mm-hmm.
culture. And so,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's well, you are invited to the conversation. I it's as the organization evolves, a lot of its core DNA, like you said, the spirit of service, experiences that are heartfelt, heartbreaking, heart opening, and mind blowing is still there. Uh, there has been also a wonderful new invention like the Youth Leadership Summit. So it's not just project anymore, and so these are really great invention by people who care, and that has been wonderful, beautiful to see. I mean, the common analogy people use for SEALNet is a family-run business, and so it
Mm,
has all the quirks of a family, and hopefully the family is a happy one because there are plenty of families that are not very functional.
mm,
Uh,
yeah.
and yeah, and we had our fair share of these challenges too. But I think something that I'm very glad and grateful about SEALNet is that it has a capacity to hold all these conflicts. Uh,
Beautiful.
that was that was just beautiful.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and then just reflecting, yeah, how much it has. I mean, myself, how much I've learned to face conflict with both power and love.
yeah.
Uh,
Beautiful.
through my experience, SEALNet was, yeah, unbelievable. Uh, and mm, 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 uh,
What other question do you have for me?
I have, and this is actually relevant since you were mentioning about these young, the people you have met when they were 16 and 17, and now they are growing to their companies and succeeding in all this part of their life. And my question actually is gearing toward, I mean, myself and people who I guess are somewhat older than me or around this age, because SEALNet, as it's entered the 15 years, we have developed a considerable network of the alumni, of the people whom we have touched. And I think it's also a call to greater service. Uh, you know, the people you have been through them, you know what it feels like to be in our young professional life and all the hope and dream and the struggle that we had. Not everyone is the same, but the similar kind. And and part of me wanting to do this work of anniversary is also as a chance to for us to deepen the connection and find ways to contribute to each other's to serve. And I know that the people who are now in who are like me or older than me are facing their own distinct challenge, uh, and you have known some of it. And I wanted to hear maybe a message from you for them as a way to share how you feel, and also an invitation, a message for this young professional who are entering or have entered a different life from the life that the magical moment they had with SEALNet. It is very hard to sustain the magic. Maybe we shouldn't, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the magic is there just so that we have glimpses of uh, the the inspiration and the heartbreaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the experience of uh, feeling loving and courageous. And so
Mm-hmm.
we get glimpses into that.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I think everybody's on their own in different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and, people that we met,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we were in our early 40s, late 30s, early 40s now. Some of us are in our 50s and 60s now, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So even for Lang and I could imagine for Mei Lin and KB, we're in different stage of life now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, how do we step into a different way of being in the world?
Mm-hmm.
And then people like, you know, a generation before you, like
Mm-hmm.
Tu and Viet and
Trend.
and Trent, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, these are now successful professionals
Mm-hmm.
with their own families, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they faced a different kind of challenge.
Mm-hmm.
What it means to step into adulthood and
Mm-hmm.
have family and have companies that they're responsible for,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and have children, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then dealing with intimate family issues, relational issues,
Mm-hmm.
challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And then people like uh, in still in their 20s, like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like what would it mean for me to step into my professional life,
Mm-hmm.
and then also beginning exploring
Mm-hmm.
intimate relationships as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think, so that at a personal level, and I also think that we're living in a different time
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
than uh, you know, 15 years ago. The
Mm-hmm.
world is a different place, and things are moving faster, and people are getting more insane in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think I wonder, how do we at this time let go of the old model of like going to community to serve,
Mm-hmm.
as in like we're giving to these community, but how do we as a network,
Mm-hmm.
there's an, it's in the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
SEALNet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these network of
Mm-hmm.
creative, smart, privileged,
Mm-hmm.
uh, been given so much,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they have been able to leverage the experiences and the opportunities. How do they serve each other?
Mm-hmm.
How do they, through serving each other, serve the world?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if SEALNet learn how to go deeper into the network
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and looking at how we can serve each other
Mm-hmm.
as a way to go deeper into the relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of that, I think we would serve better, because we are already in different influential position in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My fear is that
Mm-hmm.
people lost their sense of idealism,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that they become cynical or greedy,
Yeah.
or craving once you're in the matrix world of working and building businesses, and it's
Yeah.
all important and good to go through that process.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
if that's what you care about is your own success, and even if just for your own family,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
without understanding that, oh, we are all interconnected,
Mm-hmm.
and that
You're
I'm
all in this.
existed
Mm-hmm.
in a larger web,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then I think it would be a missed opportunity
Mm.
for you know, those of us who devoted and give so much to SEALNet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And mm. 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 Beautiful. Mm. Mm.
Yeah, I've, you know, my recent trip to Vietnam, for example, and being able to, you know, be introduced to so many people through you, and through Hieu, and through Han, and Tu, and you know, it means a lot to me.
mm, mm,
right? That
mm,
I get to receive that way.
mhm,
And it's so meaningful.
mm, mhm, 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 mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mm, it is, it is. Yeah. I, I just want to say that even though the spirit that we have hopefully internalized is a spirit of paying it forward, um, there's still a very strong instinct of paying it backward, as in a reciprocate way.
Mm,
We have been so grateful to receive all the things from you and the people who have gone before us. So we also want to give back
mm.
and
Yeah.
giving in
People
every way.
were give up with down. Some
I know,
within.
I know, I know, I know, I know. um, I yeah, I know you are not uh, officially a priest like Lang, but you are also an extremely skilled well wisher. So I'm gonna ask you as a closing for this interview and many more to come. Uh, Maybe a well wish and from well wish from you for SEALNet and for the next generation of people who will be involved, and they are not necessarily a high school student. They might be older. You know, really wanting to hear that and receiving all the blessing and well wish from you.
Mm, wow. I think the well wishes from me to SEALNet and to the people of SEALNet. You know, I wish people continue to be in love with each other. And I use the word in love rather than falling in love with each other, to
Yeah.
be loving towards each other.
Mm.
And what I means by that is it doesn't have to be all the members of SEALNet because too many people. But what if you know, within the SEALNet network, 7
Yeah.
people that I would just devote my loving and energy towards to build relationship with 7 people,
Yeah.
go take it deeper,
Mm. Mm.
you know,
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
because the network now is really large. But if
Mm.
each of us committed to
Mm.
serve 7 people
Mm.
within this network,
Mm.
really purposefully, meaningfully, wholeheartedly,
Mm.
wow, what could we, what
Mm.
the the, the exponential growth of that.
Mm.
That's
Mm.
what I wish for.
Mm.
And then I think different people at different stages of life, you know,
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
I think at the bottom of it is I wish for courageous.
Mm.
I wish for people to have a kind of self-acceptance when knowing when it's enough.
Mm. Mm.
And then I wish people, all of us,
Mm.
to go deeper into
Mm.
how we love ourselves, how we
Mm.
love each other,
Mm.
how we love the world.
Yes. Yes.
What I,
Yes. 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 Um, how we go deeper into how we love ourselves, each other, and the world. Yeah. Yes. 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 Um,
okay,
yes.
anything
Thank
more?
you. Thank you. No, this has been beautiful. Thank you so much.
Okay, shall I stop the recording?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Thank you.